US Archaeology. Get out of there, Dan.
We didn't really do a 105.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second Take It show 105.
Yes, the second take.
Oh,
How's it going?
Man, it's been a long week. Like literally. Like I learned a lot about COVID this weekend, COVID policies. Yeah, I mean, we probably shouldn't be starting the show off with that, but we will. Basically, I was semi-antisocial this week since I was in one of my favorite places. I'm working in like one of my favorite places, Mammoth, California, and so instead of hanging out with coworkers a lot this week, I actually went out bike riding more than a few times. And then yesterday it's like, oh, what are your coworkers came down with COVID? You know, blah blah. And so we had to learn all about it. Which is amazing since he took two of those tests. I don't know. There seems like there's like a different test.
At-home tests?
It was just one of those tests you buy at like CVS as opposed to the one you get from the post office. And those both came out negative, but he still felt terrible. So he went to the actual hospital and got a test there, and it came out positive. And so we all were scrambling around.
Yeah.
Like I learned.
Yeah. But did you guys all have to go to the hospital and get tests too?
No.
Once he came positive?
As long as we don't I think it probably varies company to company, but as long as I don't feel bad, then it's all good. Yeah, I also
That's
learned
interesting.
that oh, go ahead.
Because I would say I'm pretty sure it still sits in your system for a little while. Like you can be carrying it, but not like feeling any symptoms and delivering it to other people. So but I guess you probably wouldn't test positive either. So who knows?
He was not feeling well as of last Wednesday, so it's been several days. And of course, I did go out.
All right.
I did. And we're live, by the way. Everyone is wondering. But let's see. Basically, when I was out with this person, we were outside in a very windy day and drinking beer. But I learned several things about COVID in California.
Yeah.
Like if your company employs more than 26 people, you're entitled to 80 hours of COVID sick leave. That's separate. Yeah, it's separate from your regular sick leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've read
I didn't know
comments
that.
from people who are like, yeah, but you get X number of hours of regular sick leave. Why do you need this? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you need it? Also, you could get I want to say
for
3 days. Don't quote me on that one. I know it's 80 hours, but it might be up to 3 days if you get a shot and you don't feel so great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in happier news, we arrived in Monroe, Washington yesterday, my hometown. And we're at my grandma's house again for another week before we head up to Canada. But on the way here yesterday, again, it was probably 30, 40 miles west of Olympia, Washington, out towards the peninsula. I saw another Rivian. Yeah, this time one that was not on the flatbed truck, but it was coming by me on the highway, and it looks super cool.
Not right now. Right now I'm home, but being in Mammoth, California, my God, I saw my first non-launch edition Rivian, because all the ones I've been seeing are the launch edition, which are the green ones. Yeah.
Okay, I think this was a green one, actually. Yeah, I couldn't tell anything else about it.
Ones, which is super cool. They're not as like the one I saw was actually in a parking lot, because normally when I see them they're like driving, but this time I actually saw one in a parking lot, and how could I put this? Let's see, it's smaller than it looks. If that makes any sense? Yeah,
I totally agree. The one I saw yesterday was it almost looked like a Ford Ranger kind of size. You know what I mean? Like it compared to other trucks. Yeah. And I don't really care about the size. Like I'm not into like a massive truck. I'm not going to, my current use means that I wouldn't tow anything with it. If I got one, I would more rather tow it behind the RV, which is not possible. But I think I think for us, for our purposes, just having one that's a little bit smaller would give us a bed for doing stuff, but also, you know, we can take it off road and do other things. So
Assuming you went
yeah,
to
I wouldn't mind the
Contracts
size.
Bank, from Swicka.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, right. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, but yeah, it's actually kind of funny. We've well, not funny, but we've been looking at we occasionally peruse the Family Motor Coach Association's list of flat towable vehicles, and they haven't put out a list for 2022 yet, which is really strange. They usually have by now, but so we're just doing some research on our own, and I actually looked at I was looking at a list of plug-in hybrids, like 2022 plug-in hybrids, because we're pretty determined to continue on with either a plug-in hybrid or a full electric car, but we can't do a full electric because there isn't a single full electric on the market that's flat towable behind an RV. And yet, and we're just not willing to get a flatbed and tow it like that because there's nowhere to put the trailer. So anyway, so we're looking at plug-in hybrids because a lot of those, especially the American ones, none of the foreign ones are flat towable, but some of the American ones are, and like Jeeps and stuff like that. But you know, one of them that is flat towable is the Ford.
Ford Escape.
The Ford Escape. Well, the F-150 for sure, but the F-150 is a little too heavy for us right now. We need a bigger RV. Ooh. Yeah, but the Escape is under the weight, and I looked at the Escape, and you know, it's not the sexiest vehicle on the planet, but you know, and it's a Ford Escape. I mean, let's be honest, it's not like you're going for any style points here, but it's I went to the Ford website specifically and I was like, let me just option this up. I got the titanium package, plug-in hybrid, and I put every single option you could on there to make it as expensive as it could possibly get, just so I could see what the baseline was.
Oh my God.
And it was $46,000. And I'm like, that's less than I paid for my Tacoma.
That actually leads into the first I want to talk about this week. I just saw an article where the average price of a new car sold is $47,000, but the average payment per month is $700, which is a lot more than I would have thought.
I think it's because of interest rates and probably credit ratings and stuff like that. People just have higher payments. Yeah, I mean the payment on our RV is only $600 a month. but of course we've got a 20-year loan on it. So, you know, we don't have a 5-year loan. If we had a 5-year loan on it, our payment would be $5,000 a month. But no, it'll probably be closer to $2,000, $2,500 a month. But they don't really do 5-year loans on these.
If it was more than 47,000.
I want to say the Tacoma all in, because I bought it brand new, and this was before, I think I put 5 down or something like that. Before the 5 down, I want to say it was like 50 or 51 or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. I know it was around. Am I thinking wrong? And it was like 42. God, I don't think it was. I think it was 50, just over 50, when I got it. You know, because I got the, well, you know what I had. I had the TRD 4-wheel drive thing, and you know, all the GPS navigation, stuff like that. But all of that was a little bit extra, the special wheels and stuff like that, and the bed liner and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was either, I'll commit to it was either 52 or 42, but I'm pretty sure it was on the 50 side, not the 40 side.
I only mentioned that because my Tacoma fully loaded, like with every option you could get that year, but mine was the 2-door extended cab, was just under 30 at the door. Oh wait.
Okay. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. Sean has joined. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and he says you're a little bit hard to hear, a little quieter. But maybe you're balanced, and Sean can't hear out of one ear. I would totally believe that. How's it going, Sean?
Oh darn! Well, because I was speaking earlier, so I lowered my volume a little, and now let's see.
Gotcha. Yep. Crank that up just a little bit.
Sometimes I forget where it goes.
So anyway, while you're adjusting that, it's interesting looking at vehicles, and as we're looking at vehicles, and you know, always thinking about, you know, future field vehicles and just how that industry is going for people that need field vehicles. And man, every single car manufacturer out there, if they don't have a full electric version of, you know, one of their popular vehicles right now, they all say that they will within 1 to 2 years. So in probably 2 to 3 years, I mean, you're probably going to be hard pressed to find a gas vehicle in the more popular models of cars. They're going to all be electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm all for it, but it's crazy. And then you've got all these people out there that are all the detractors saying, "Oh, but you can only go 250, 300 miles,
Really?
blah blah blah. Do that in a day, blah blah blah." And like, yeah, I get it. You're kind of an edge case, and we need all these people that are not edge cases that only do commutes every day to be able to buy these cars so they get cheaper. Like we actually need that. But then also, I saw an article not too long ago about some brand new battery technology that is about to come on the market from a number of sources, and they're using different materials of the dielectric from rather than lithium, and it's and they're going to be as we should expect, they're going to be way higher capacity, lighter weight, and quicker to charge.
Well,
and that's obviously the dream of all batteries. So
well, I keep comparing
that
this to
technology,
phones.
as we buy them, will get better.
Like, was it like, I don't know how many years it's been, but I feel like there was a point where you ran into so many old people and they were so proud of the fact that they never had a smartphone and that they were still using their flip phone. And it's like, I can't remember the last time I heard that, because because it just seemed like just seemed a little stupid to me personally.
Yeah. Well, it's the same crowd that was like, I don't have a cell phone, all I have is my landline. If you need to get a hold of me, then wait till I get home, that kind of thing. So, you're always going to have that crowd. And the problem is sometimes they have loud voices and sometimes they don't. But I think that anybody who takes away from technology that is clearly taking off, and they take away from it because it's not ready right now for the exact purpose that they need, is just has an inability to see the future. They have an inability to see that.
I drive I want to say 170 miles to get to my work area, and then on a given day I drive maybe 20 miles round trip at most. And that's like way less. Like I wouldn't even have to charge it until like, the second or third day when I got there.
Yeah. Well, and what one of the knock-on effects is going to be too, because right now, you're driving to a hotel room, and even if you had an electric vehicle, like the chances of you being able to charge it in the hotel room are probably not super great. It's probably not really good. Like when we often, when the RV is just parked, we often don't take the charging cord for the car if we just go out and about the town. No, we always forget. Sometimes there's charging units places, and they always have their own plugs, so we can use that if we decide to do it. But we had it with us one time when we were going to I don't remember where we were going, but we were at a hotel in Phoenix for a couple of days just a few months ago, and we had the charging cord with us, and I was like, well, I'm going to use it. So I actually plugged it into the oh, that's right, I don't remember what hotel we were at. We were there for like a week. When our RV was getting maintenance in Oregon, that's what it was. Our RV was getting maintenance, so we were staying at a hotel in Eugene, Oregon for a week, and I just ran the cord. The car was parked right out in front, and there was no it was like a door straight to the outside, and I just ran the cord straight up into the hotel room and charged the car every day, and had the cord stretched across the sidewalk. Now there was little carpets outside, so I laid the carpet over the cord so people wouldn't trip on it, but I just saw a note in one of the RVing groups that one of the parks that they're at, and they withheld the name and location, but it's got to be Florida. But they said that the park has now outlawed the charging of electric vehicles from the power pedestal that's at your RV. And and they said the only thing you can charge is your golf cart, but no more charging of electric vehicles. And I think it's because they're just taking more power than these guys expected. And I'm like, that's not the answer. Raise your rates if you want to, if you have a higher electricity bill or something like that, because I'll tell you one thing, you can stop me from charging my car off the pedestal, but you can't stop me from charging my car off the RV. I can plug it straight into the RV and charge off of that, and you simply can't stop me. So it's weird. It's weird and irritating. I don't know.
Way back when I was a kid, Ford, or at least I want to say I was a kid, maybe I was in high school, but I remember Ford had an electric vehicle that looked just like a golf cart, except it was street legal. Yeah, and I remembered, seeing it and just like a golf cart, except that they had the zip-in side curtains, and they ran a cable they went in like a power cord all the way from their house out to the vehicle. Way back in the super olden days.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's
Nice, nice.
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
So, well, anyway, I'm just gonna say I'm interested to see how the attitude towards full electric
Ooh.
vehicles, especially work vehicles where people have to go to someplace like a hotel room, because that, again, that is the big concern. Like if you decided you wanted to go out and buy an electric F-150 or an electric Jeep Wrangler or something like that right now, where are you going to charge it? Seriously, where are you going to charge it? It's one thing to charge it at home or even at the office, but you probably don't even have a place to do it there. But where are you going to charge it in Mammoth at the hotel room? You know, it's a problem. It's true. Well, kind of. I mean, where are you going to plug it in? It doesn't matter what you have.
Like right around the corner from the hotel I'm at, there's actually a giant like Tesla supercharging station. So there's like yeah, so it's got like spaces.
Well, that makes sense for Mammoth.
Space for, I want to say a minimum of a dozen Teslas. It's like a giant parking lot.
Right. Now Tesla is really good about putting that infrastructure together, but nobody else can use those, right? Because there's no charging standard. The Tesla plug, it does not fit every car, which is stupid, you know. So if they would just open those up to other people, or other people would just say, yeah, Tesla's the big one, let's just take their plugging standard, then Tesla could make a ton of money on selling power.
Basically, it's been mandated that they have to share their stations, so now they are. Kind of like the way they mandated that Apple needs to put USB-C on their iPhones, and now Apple's toying around with the idea of just taking away the charging port altogether and using just wireless charging.
Yeah, I could see that. It's I only have one use case for the USB-C port on the iPhone, and that's so I could plug in my ATR 2100 microphone straight into it, because I can do that on my iPad. But if they take that away on the iPhone, I mean, my current iPhone doesn't have USB-C, and the iPhone 13 doesn't have USB-C. I don't know if the iPhone 14 will have USB-C, or they're going to go straight to nothing.
I predict nothing.
You know, I have no idea. So I would say I predict nothing as well. It wouldn't hurt me. I'm definitely getting the 14. We're probably going to replace both our 12s and get 14s, and it wouldn't hurt me really at all. I can think of very few random times where I actually have to plug that phone in to charge it, and most of those times are related to using external batteries, right? Because I have a couple external batteries that have wireless charging, but it's way quicker to charge it with a cord, you know. So
oh my god,
yeah,
that
it's
reminds
crazy.
me. Have you been impressed at all by the new M2s?
Well, I haven't obviously used one yet. I think that from what I saw, I wouldn't notice much of a difference, because I've got an M1, and the M2 was only about a 25% speed increase over the M1 chipset. For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's the new chipset for the MacBook Pros. Did they release anything beyond they only released one M2 MacBook Pro. I don't think they've released more after that, have they?
The thing is that everyone says just get a Mac, the M1 Pro Max, I want to say. Yeah, they're saying like, you know, it's
that's what I have actually.
Deal.
It might be, but that's only because they haven't released the full line of M2s yet, you know, and I have a feeling it's a supply chain issue. When they, I have the M1 Max. When they release the full line, I mean, obviously it is going to be quicker, but then again, it's perspective, right? Like if you're going from the M1 to the M2, or the M1 Max to the M2, you're not going to notice a massive difference in speed. But if you're going from a 2017, you know, MacBook Pro, and you're going to an M1 or an M2, you're going to notice a phenomenal difference in speed.
How can I put this? Like a lot of the coworkers I've been working with recently, we all have to get together and like, you know, so I've been seeing what other people use for computers. And the other day I saw
oh man,
I saw someone with a MacBook Pro, but it was like it had a disk drive in it that was broken, of course, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen one of those in forever.
Oh my god.
And then I think another person I work with had like
the
first gen MacBook Air.
I mean, the one good part about that story is Apple makes really good computers that'll last a long time. And if you're a field tech or somebody and you're like, I can't afford a $2,000 computer, it's like, well, can you afford 6 $500 computers? Because
Yeah.
save your money, borrow money if you have to, put it on a credit card. I don't care, but buy an Apple computer because your lifestyle of traveling around and being hard on stuff is going to be better served with an aluminum framed SSD drive
And
computer
to put
because
things
it
in
can take a
perspective, I got
beating,
the base model M1 MacBook Air, and I can still edit 4K footage on it without any issues.
Yeah.
So obviously, you don't need the top of the line anything. But
Yeah.
like,
No. I
and I was
mean,
thinking,
the M1
it
anything should
reminds
be
me
able
of
to do it.
It reminds me of that advice you gave in your book, like save up for what you need at the beginning of the field season, and then and then the rest of it is, or is that the
Yeah.
advice? Basically, I was just thinking, if you need a new $1,000 computer, it doesn't take that much to like save up for $1,000, like maybe X number of dollars a month. I mean, it's not even $100 a month, is it?
Well, no, and it's interesting you're saying that because we recorded the Sierra Mark podcast today, which will be out July 13th, and the topic was basically addressing people who are in their first
Yeah.
field season or in their first couple of projects right
Yeah.
now, like as they're listening to the podcast. And it's like, what should you be doing and thinking about like right now that you're not
Yeah.
thinking about? Because right now, most people are just thinking, holy crap, I'm getting paid to be an archaeologist. This is amazing, right? Like I'm literally Indiana Jones. But it's like, that's great.
Yeah.
Once you're done with that, where's your next job?
Yeah.
What are you doing in December? What are you doing in January? What are you doing next year? And that is one of the pieces of advice that I've given before is, think about, especially at the beginning of the year when finances are probably a little tighter. If this isn't your first year, you've gone over the winter with possibly not working that much and you've burned through some of your savings. Think about the big life sustaining purchases you need to make. Do you need to buy a new computer? Do you need to buy a good set of headphones because you're doing work and stuff like that? Do you need to buy a new car? Whatever the case may be, budget that thing out and then save that money early on while you're rearing to go and ready and you're making the money and you're ready to just get back into it. And then maybe later on you can go out and party a little more if you want to. And you'll have bought the things that you need. So, but spend good money on good things because they'll last you longer.
Yeah.
It's tough to do that. We don't have any money, but
I mean,
it's
to put things in perspective,
last you longer.
one of the first purchases I ever made was my Toyota Tacoma, and I paid it off with my Ruby pipeline money, and I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
Although,
Yeah.
that does make you wonder, though. I was thinking about it. Like,
Yeah.
do you think these increased gas prices are figuring into proposals somehow? I mean, I don't know how that's taken care of. I feel like you might know more about how that's taken care of.
Well, a lot of times, and every company's different, but a lot of times you're charged one of two ways for a vehicle.
Yeah.
And when I say you, I mean,
Yeah.
because clients are charged for vehicle use, right? And you either put on, you're either increasing your mileage rate, but if you're using a federal mileage rate, then you can't. You have to hope the federal government has increased their mileage rate, which I don't think they can respond to things like gas price increases in a month. And if you're not using mileage rate, then you're probably using like a day rate. And the day rate, you can basically charge whatever you want because it's your day rate, right? So if you just increase that to cover the cost of gas, but when you think about it, when gas is $2 a gallon more, if you're putting 40 gallons in, I mean, that's an extra $80, right? The day rate I was charging for my truck was like $110 a day, and that should cover gas and that should cover wear and tear on the vehicle, and future repairs because of that wear and tear and insurance and all that stuff. So, I would assume that companies that, especially companies with a lot of vehicles and companies with, a lot of miles they're putting on their vehicles, they have got to be passing that cost off on somehow, but you don't want to do it too much because you need to stay competitive because some of your competitors may use that opportunity to, just take a hit and charge less. Who knows? I don't know. Or maybe some of your competitors have gone to plug-in hybrid field vehicles and they're getting 70 miles to the gallon on their trucks.
But how
who
many
knows?
companies also just run their vehicles in the ground? I mean, you and I both work for a company here in Reno where there was like a famous F-150 where the only thing that was holding the rear spring into place was like the fire extinguisher mount.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I would say that's as more and more engineering firms start buying CRM firms and start doing CRM, I would say that's less and less of a likely thing, because they have, you know, they have certain safety standards they have to maintain. And, you know, safety is such a big deal with these bigger companies that I'm learning as I'm doing this safety software implementation thing. Their insurance rates are based in large part on their safety ratings, and their safety ratings have to be well documented, right? They have to, you have to be able to go to them and say, you know, show me your safety statistics for the past year. And if you've got garbage vehicles that break down all the time, or even worse, break down and cause accidents, you know, something they can't afford. So they buy new vehicles, or they lease new vehicles.
Not only engineering companies, but I've heard like unconfirmed rumors that that like venture capitalists are buying up, you know, environmental firms. I'm like, man, that is kind of crazy. Like I can like, you know, obviously you've gone from like, you know, companies where there were shall we say interesting people running them, to like companies where they actually like expect like real results, not kind of like made up like fake results. Like we're gonna have like you check in 6 times in the morning, you know, and micromanage you to the nth degree.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hey, real quick, there was briefly 6 people signed into the meeting here. So, hey, if you're watching this and you have the ability, don't do it while you're driving. But if you have the ability, put where you're watching us from in the chat. We're always interested to know where in the country you guys are. So, or even other countries for that matter. So, I don't know how far out Facebook promotes this for us. So, anyway, yeah. Oh, and I'd like to know, you know, are you working right now? Are you not working? Is it tough to find work where you're at? If it is tough to find work, it means you don't live in California. So,
oh my God, that brings me up to my next topic. You know,
anyway.
I was gonna say July 4th. You know, the thing I've written down is July 4th plans, but my July 4th plans are to drive out to my work area. In fact, me and the 2 people who are driving out are like the only people who are mobilizing tomorrow and heading out.
Oh,
it does.
Mammoth must have
that too.
must have some kind of a fireworks show going on.
Starting at 11 a.m. So I imagine it's gonna be a nightmare to get into town at that point.
Yeah, well, if I know you, you're not going to get in there until close to dark anyway.
I mean, technically, you know,
just in time for fireworks.
Show up at the hotel by business hours, by the 5:30, I think, is our end time. You know, knock on wood.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
But that reminds me.
Yeah, indeed.
Like
indeed.
One of those things I wanted to bring up was, where's the worst places we spent holidays and birthdays when we've been working at this job?
Well, I can start off with my first one, which Sean Olson, who is signed in here, spent with me. My very first holiday spent in CRM was with Sean. He was my roommate in Miami, and we spent. I believe I was there for Christmas too. I can't remember if Sean was there for Christmas, but I know he was there for New Year's, because I remember doing New Year's Day on South Beach with Sean and a couple other of our crewmates, and we're just like. Oh, and my wife Rachel was there too. Yeah, you didn't go home for Christmas and New Year's. You're back for New Year's. That's right. Oh, that's right. Rachel's reminding me. We went to Hooters down in Miami, and watched the orange drop, because the orange dropped, not the ball. So anyway, we did that on New Year's Eve, and that was actually pretty fun. As far as, you know, it was probably my first like non-military time being away from like family for a holiday like that, and it turns out it was a pretty good time. So Sean says he was there for both. Yeah, that's right. Sean was my first CRM roommate too. We roomed together for like 6 months in Miami.
It's hard to believe there's still companies that do that.
Yeah. Well, this was 2006. So yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, it was definitely more common then. Yeah, for sure. Oh
my God.
So what about you?
Oh wait, I think you and I were both at the same company at that point. I think you guys were out in Battle Mountain for my birthday one year, and you guys kept texting me.
Oh. Yeah,
you guys kept texting me to come over, and I was promised by this super weird Mormon company that you know, if I left my vehicle in God, where was that? It wasn't Battle Mountain. it was Elko. If I left my vehicle there, that they would promise that I could take my vehicle into town whenever I needed to or wanted to. And then they took that back when I got there. And so there I was, like, there I was. All these weird Mormons had gone to sleep by 8 o'clock. It's not even dark yet, and they're all in their tents, and there you guys are in Battle Mountain saying, "Come on over." And I was like literally like 10, 15 minutes down the road, and I was like, I wonder if I could just walk there. Yeah, so that was like my worst birthday. I mean, I've had better ones, but obviously. But man, that was just the one that sticks out in my mind just because a truly terrible office from a truly weird company.
I can't think of any other like major holidays. I mean, I've worked on Memorial Day and stuff like that before, just because you're like in the middle of a 10-day or something like that, and you just kind of get it done. I can't think of any other really like major holidays that were a bad experience.
Ooh.
I do remember being in Eureka, Nevada,
Oh, that must have been
for
fun.
4th of July one year. Yeah. Yeah, it was for
oh, really?
Oh, it was for Couts Reno company that's still doing work. Yeah, I remember we were down there in
Ooh.
Was it Eureka? Yeah, it was Eureka. It was Eureka.
Yeah.
And because I remember behind the hotel, there was like some kind of old cut road. And we walked up this road behind the hotel to get kind of over the hotel because the fireworks are out across the highway on a big hill there. And it was actually one of the best fireworks displays I've ever seen in a small town. It was just like went on forever and it was super long. In fact, it's one of those fireworks displays where by the end of it, you're like, come on, we got like places to go, things to do here. It just like kept going and going and going. But I was pleasantly surprised because I just expected kind of a small nothing that day. And I think we actually worked part of that day. And we came into town and they had like the whole town blocked off, and they had these weird competitions and stuff going on, people nailing nails into wood and hammers and stuff like that. I don't know, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening. Yeah, but they did it up for 4th of July. So
oh my god, one thing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Hang on, let's see. Darn computer. Anyway, one thing I normally don't do, even though when I'm paying attention to it, I'm really paying attention to it, but normally I don't pay attention to it in between, is LinkedIn. Like, obviously we all work on our our profiles and stuff. And I do that like every once in a while sporadically, and then I'm like really paying attention to it. But lately I've just been paying attention to it like normal, almost like Facebook, just because more jobs are posted there and whatnot. And one of those things I've noticed is that you're seeing people post stuff that's like how can I put it, more Facebook like, in terms of like, I stand here on this subject, and I don't care if you think that Trump was a jerk. He is the greatest president ever. Blah blah blah. We need him now more than ever. Blah blah. But And so, as someone who posts on LinkedIn a lot, I was wondering, what should people be actually posting in there? Because I feel like that you shouldn't be posting. I feel like as a sort of like as your public facing sort of I don't know, professional portal, social media portal, like you shouldn't just be posting random like articles that you found on like some crazy website. So what should you be posting?
Well, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because it's social media is whatever you want it to be, right? Whatever reaction you want it to be. So if that's your platform to post stuff, you have to imagine that you're impacting your professional career, because LinkedIn is more geared towards professional interactions, right? But in reality, LinkedIn is full of the same people that are on Facebook. And I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. It seems like LinkedIn is the Facebook-esque social media platform for people who don't like Facebook, right? All those people that said, I got off of Facebook and I'm never going back because screw Mark Zuckerberg. Well, they're just using LinkedIn like Facebook. It's got all the same tools. It's got groups, it's got likes, it's got your friends. You can share articles. I mean, it's literally the same thing as Facebook. It's just always had this, because they started out with, posting your experience and resume there as part of your profile. It became this professional thing, but in the end, it's still just a social network. And like I said, people tend to see it more as a professional thing. So if you ever plan on getting a job from LinkedIn, well, you got to be sure that whatever persona you're putting out there is the one you want to put out there, because nothing saying you can't post your political views on LinkedIn, but that's going to be taken into account when you get your job, right? And maybe that's okay. Maybe you want an employer that looks at that stuff and say, I feel the same exact way as you do, and that's what you're going to get. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like Facebook has become, for people that are on both, Facebook seems to be more family and friends. Whether you like them or not, it's more family and friends, even if they're not like close friends. And it's more for those types of interactions, people obviously post political stuff too, but people almost never post like work related stuff on Facebook. I mean, you see obviously in the groups, people posting for job postings, but that's different, right? But because those groups are more professional groups, they're not friend groups. I wish the stuff like Archeo Field Techs could move to LinkedIn, to be honest with you. There is a CRM group on LinkedIn that I at least used to be a moderator of it. This one guy owned it, and then he needed help, and I was posting in there quite a bit at the time. And so he asked me to be a moderator. But to be honest, I haven't seen any activity in there in a couple of years because people just aren't there. Yeah. I mean, I had a few thousand members last I looked, but I haven't been there in a really long time. And I think it's just called CRM Archaeology or something like that. I can't remember, but anyway, that's where those kinds of conversations need to take place. That's where, if people would post job offers over there, somebody who likes or comments on the job offer, they do, but not enough, right? Like there's too many different places. So, if somebody does post a job offer in, say, that group, it'd be nice, because if somebody likes the post or comments on the post or something like that, you can easily click on their profile, and if they kept their LinkedIn profile up to date, you can see their experience right away without even asking for a CV. But in Facebook, you've got to go through all the normal channels, right? So, and it's a pain in the ass. I know. And I even said, from now on, I said this a few years ago, and it's true. If I have to go into the open wild to get an employee that I don't know, I haven't had to in a while, because I know enough people that I can bring out who I want to on a project. But if I have to go into the wild and get somebody I don't know, I'm not asking for a resume. I want a link to your LinkedIn profile. If you send me a PDF of your CV or your resume, you're immediately not going to get hired because you didn't follow instructions. So, but I want to know that you understand computers and you understand the internet and you can put that stuff together. And that sounds like a ridiculous statement to make in 2022, but there's definitely people that don't get that. There's definitely people that have crappy LinkedIn profiles, not because they didn't bother to maintain it, but because they don't know how. They don't understand how to make it look good.
Thinking, the reason why I brought up, like, should you be posting political stuff on it, is that people want to know that you can get along with other coworkers, and there's just a certain sort of combative, commenter you see, like on LinkedIn. You're starting to see on LinkedIn that you always used to see on Facebook. And you're like, do I really want to work with that person?
Right.
I mean, it's
totally.
all right to post what you believe, but there's also a respectful way to do it in such a way you don't come off like we probably shouldn't swear in this show, but like coming off like an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the olden days before, everyone got supercharged sort of partisan.
Yeah, exactly. Give me one second here. I gotta plug in.
Interesting. I was gonna ask about that meanie a little.
I mean, keep going.
Like, I'm curious. Well, I mean, God, I don't know if we should be bringing this up in the air, but I was wondering about, some of that stuff like, contracts. Like, is that something you want to talk about in the air? Oh, well,
like what in specific,
nice
in particular?
Know that the APN's doing well and that you're actually able to offer. I don't know what these contracts are offering, but I was just curious.
Oh, yeah. No, we have a new, anybody that's listened to a podcast in the last 6 months on one of our more popular shows, we've had Zencastr as one of our sponsors. And I let the Zencastr ad expire in early June for the last one that they had. I hadn't really contacted them to re-up it, only because we were coming around for host contracts. Because it just kind of redid every few years. We kind of redo those. You have to have paperwork between people, otherwise there's no understanding. So we had to redo those a little bit. and those were due on July 1st. So then I contacted Zencaster a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, starting on July 1st, do you guys want to do some more advertising? And they agreed to another 3-month deal, which is really great for us. But what's even better is their hosting service, the Zencaster hosting service, is starting up. It actually started about 6 months ago, but it wasn't really ready for us yet because we're a little bit different animals. So we're going to be moving 3 shows over to the hosting service, and in probably late August, early September, if their plans come together, we're going to be moving the entire Archaeology Podcast Network to the Zencaster hosting service from what we're on now. It's cheaper for us and it's better for us. We're on Megaphone right now.
That's the Amazon one, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I can't remember who bought Megaphone. In the end, I think Spotify bought Megaphone, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Megaphone was started by an independent company, like an internal resource, and then they made it go public a couple of years ago to just broaden its applicability. And then I think Spotify bought it last year sometime or something like that. So you can't tell looking at it; it still looks like Megaphone. And we actually don't have a problem with it. It's my deal with how I got in there, which is kind of through a third party, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I love Megaphone, but that deal is just not secure. It's not concrete, and I don't want it to go away randomly at some point. So, and I really like Zencaster, and we're doing more and more things with Zencaster. So, I want to support them and what they're doing, and we're going to move. Like I said, we're going to move the whole network. We're just waiting for them to get the dynamic ad insertion stuff done, because that's what we use for advertising. We don't bake ads into our shows. We do dynamic ad insertions. So if you're listening to a show from 3 years ago, you don't hear an ad from 3 years ago. You hear an ad from today. Even if you're downloading a show from 3 years ago, that's
you don't have to sit through. Well, technically, I fast forward through about 10 minutes of ads until I actually start hearing the actual podcast.
yeah, indeed. So, it's interesting. I don't like putting ads in the beginning. All I ever have is I technically have a pre-roll spot, which is before the APN intro, but the only thing I ever put there usually is for members. I have a reserved slot in case we ever get like a really big sponsor that just wants a sponsor message. Well, I'll put like a 5-second thing that says, this podcast is brought to you by, Richie Cruz Enterprises, whoever ends up joining. But it wouldn't be a full ad. I hate full ads at the beginning of a show. So we always wait till segment 1 to do 3 ads, and then we do 2 at segment 2.
Who are unsure what we're talking about. Like, I literally, there's a podcast I listen to every week, and every week it's like 10 minutes, like Manscaped and food service, whatever, like the prepackaged food service and blah, 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 and watches and this and that. And it's just like, oh my God. And the thing that makes me laugh is that, is that when you bring it up, like on his on this person's social media feed, they like block you and delete the comments because they're like so freaked out and so scared of the advertisers. And I'm like, man, come on.
Well, I mean, to be honest, say what you will about it, but these people are making a huge living off of having those kind of ads, so they don't really care. They still have the listeners. Their numbers are proving that they're doing something right, so they could care less about the people who don't like the ads.
Irritating though.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and that's why I'm working on a couple things I don't really want to talk about on the air just yet, because I literally had the idea yesterday. But I'm working on some plans to bring in in a more rapid way members to the Archaeology Podcast Network, because if we had enough members, I would go ad free completely, right? If we were paying for all the things we need to pay for, including some employees, I would even do ads. I hate doing ads, and that's another reason we're going to Zencaster is because while we still have to do ads, Zencaster is working on basically them doing the hard work to find advertisers for podcasts. And in fact, they told us that they have somebody coming on board soon that they think we'd be a good fit for. So they're finding people to advertise on our podcast, and they're doing all the work. Obviously, they're going to take a cut for that. But my God, I'm more than happy to pay somebody a cut to find an advertiser for our shows if I don't have to do it.
That's how I started listening to Audible all the time and loves it.
My God, I actually do. I finished a book yesterday by Brian Fagan. So there you go.
Oh, wait, really?
Actually, yeah, it just came out. Yeah, actually, it just came out on audiobook anyway. I actually didn't look at the release year. what was it called? It was all about the history of
Wait, really?
like beds. It was weird. Yeah, what we did in bed is what it's called. Yeah, but it was really really interesting. The history of like the actual bed and the bedroom and how those things are how they've been used
Wow.
through time. It's actually
Yeah,
very
it's not even
very
coming up.
fascinating. Yeah, it's a pretty good
But you
book.
know what is coming up for
So
Brian Fagan?
yeah.
His like sailing books.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wait, was it you who was
Oh
mentioning
yeah.
that, or was it someone else who on?
Yeah, he's got a lot of those.
Uh,
No, it's Heather. Heather. Yeah, because Heather does a lot of sailing down in the Southern California area, and he wrote a lot of guidebooks for that
yeah.
area for sailing.
I'm not surprised. He's got to be
Yeah.
like 1,000,000 years
So
old by now.
yeah, he's in his 80s. I think he's in his 80s. Andrew said.
really?
Andrew knows him. Andrew from the Sierra Mark podcast. Yeah, I don't think they're like good friends, but he's come and lectured at Andrew's classes before in Andrew's classrooms. So yeah, at least once or
there it is,
twice. I don't know how many
What We Did in
times.
Bed,
Yeah.
Horizontal history.
So
Pulling back the covers on the fascinating yet often
yeah.
forgotten history of the bed.
I had,
Yeah.
to be honest, I had just listened to a couple others, and I saw that, so I pre-ordered it. I listened to The Long Summer, which I think was a re-release, and I listened to The Little Ice Age. Both books, The Long Summer and The Little Ice Age, I would highly recommend archaeologists listen to or read, because they just give you this really good broad overview of some things that were really impactful in history around the world. And you know, the one with well, both The Little Ice Age and The Long Summer, they're kind of opposites of each other, but talking about two very different weather patterns that dramatically impacted all of the things we take for granted today. You know, and it's just like a lot of history was changed, a lot of policies were come up with over the few hundred years where these weather patterns were holding people in their grips, and it was just it was amazing. So very well written.
Oh my God, you know what's interesting?
And I recommend them.
When you were talking about weather patterns, like it reminds me of how many people, because you know, obviously one of my jobs as an archaeologist is to be out there and working with people who normally work heavy equipment and wear hard hats. And it's so fascinating listening to how they're very concrete beliefs, like kind of like when you were out in Ridgecrest, you know, that the government controls the weather, and that this whole water shortage is just like, you know, it's just like if you just got rid of the Democrats and the liberals, there'd be plenty of water everywhere, because then the conservatives and Republicans would like free the like cloud seeding machines or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, so when's the second speaking of
Crazy.
Andrew, when's the second oh God, I keep wanting to call it by the old name, but how's his new podcast coming along?
The Pseudo Archaeology podcast.
Oh, really?
There'll be an episode out Wednesday. Rachel's actually literally sitting on the couch editing it right now. So yeah, and he's got his third one recorded. That one I just saw and I just prepped in Dropbox here for editing. He's every 2 weeks. So he's 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks ahead, which is really nice to see.
Oh, is he?
Because I think he's in Belize right now. And actually his little spoiler alert for anybody still listening or listening to this in the future. The one I actually can't remember the name of the one that Rachel's recording or editing right now, but the one that I just set up for 3 weeks from now is called The Crystal Skull of Belize. So yeah. Should be good. He's still just doing it with himself. He doesn't have any guests yet, but he's got a lot of stuff that, you know, he's a lecturer, so he's got a lot of stuff that he wants to just talk about, which is great, because I think his speaking style is really good. So if you haven't listened to the reboot of the Pseudo Archaeology podcast, feel free to go back and listen to episode 1. It's a very different show with Sarah Head. But if you go all the way up to episode 94, that's when we introduce Andrew again, and then 95 is his first real episode of the reboot of the show, because it took about a 3-year hiatus.
I haven't had time to listen to it yet, but there were 2 new episodes of what was that? The T one.
T break time travel. Yeah.
That's such a long title.
Yeah. It is. But you know, that's a good one too. Matilda Siebrecht, she's the host of that, and anytime we release a brand new show, we release the intro episode, which is usually just about 3 to 5 minutes. That's just to establish the feed, and then also I call it episode 0, but technically I can't call it episode 0. And then episode 1 and 2, we always release 2 episodes, especially helpful when it's a monthly podcast, as I want to put content out there for listeners so they subscribe and they understand what the podcast is going to be like. And then next month they'll be waiting for the episode. But yeah, always on her tea break Instagram page, she always talks about like an artifact or something like that, and highlights that. Well, now she's bringing on people to, I guess, elaborate on those. And the first one was about a Venus figurine, the oldest one actually. It is not the one that people know. There's actually an older Venus figurine, and I can't remember the full name of it. I think it was in Poland that it was found or something. And she brings on somebody from a company called Potted History, who's not an archaeologist, but her and her father do reproductions, and good reproductions of like artifacts and stuff like that in ceramic, using ancient techniques and older techniques and stuff like that. It's really cool what they do. She brings her on to talk about that. And then in her second episode, it's about candles, and she brings on a woman who is an archaeologist. She's got a company called Ashwood Candles, I believe it is, and they just kind of talk about the history of candles. And it's kind of cool. We always talk about going different directions in CRM and finding out what you want to do.
Yeah.
She got her degree, and then COVID hit, and she was just like, I'm not sure. In fact, I think she was on for an advanced degree and decided to back out of that, if I remember right. Just because COVID hit, it just wasn't the right time. And then somebody said, you should make candles. You'd be good at that. And so she started making candles and soaps and other stuff that are archaeological themed scents for places around Scotland and England. And in fact, her Stonehenge one is being sold at the British Museum as part of their Stonehenge exhibit.
Wait, what would be archaeology themed scents?
Yeah, I'm like, what does that smell like? Like dirty trucks, and like, I'm not sure I want to smell that. But no, she's trying to, I don't know if recreate is right, but she's trying to capture like the essence of different sites in what she thinks is the best way to do that. So apparently she's doing pretty well at it. Yeah, she's got a good design ethic, I think, and it's a good idea either way. So I don't know. I actually kind of thought about buying some, and it'll take you all the way through to paying, and there was nothing about shipping. And I was like, I don't know about shipping a candle from Scotland to the US.
Why not? Plus, it's a good thing it comes from a more civilized country, because I can imagine, like, if you left it up to like the Archeo Field Tech group, what sort of sense they come up with.
Right. Yeah, that should be a question. You should go post that in there. If we had archaeology candles, what would they smell like, and what would they be called?
Oh my god, that would just make you want to throw up. At least if you left it up to some field techs. At least if they want to be more honest.
There would be one called rain-soaked boots over the heater the next morning. That would be one scent.
Oh my god, before we close out, there is one thing I wanted to mention. Like, I was going to mention it when I was talking about Mammoth and all the RVs and stuff and seeing there, but my god, one of those things that I saw, not only have I been seeing the Rivian, but I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but I saw my very first Kimbo camper in person. And for people at home who can't quite picture it, basically it's a super advanced, how do I put it? It's like Airstream decided to make a geodesic dome tent, but for the back of your pickup truck. And it's like super advanced, and it uses advanced aircraft techniques to like basically construct it. So there's no frame, so it's like very roomy inside. And the thing that really impressed me is the fact that it's actually short enough that you don't need to remove your tailgate. You just stick it in your Tacoma, and then you can flip up your tailgate for extra security, which I appreciate.
Really?
Yeah. And more importantly,
that's pretty cool.
Unlike a regular camper, where it basically comes with all the junk, and you can either get rid of it or like keep it. This one, you can outfit it the way you want.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I was thinking, man, if I was gonna get something like that, I'd just outfit it as a mobile office, because that's what I'd be using it for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it starts at like $20,000 bucks. Wow. And obviously I was doing the calculations, so that's like what, $300 a month. And I only did the calculations just in case I'm like priced out of Reno at some point. There's been rumors that maybe an investment group might be buying my apartment building, so I wanted to get get ready.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and on their homepage they show it strapped to a Tacoma, so that's good.
It's super cool.
Yeah,
like super cool. Obviously, I wasn't going to stop the guy and take.
Yeah, these are pretty neat. Yeah, I like it with an aluminum frame. It's durable but lightweight. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool.
I think it's
So
depending, I
yeah,
think base weight's like roughly 900 pounds. Yeah,
jeez, yeah. The one thing I don't see on this, which I've just been amazed by,
yeah.
we saw one at a campground just a few weeks ago. Somebody came in with a truck camper that was probably the biggest truck camper I've ever seen in my life, and it had 3 slides.
Oh
It
yeah,
had 2 electric slides on the sides and one that came out the
yeah.
back. And he was on like an F350 frame because the thing probably weighed several tons, and it was just like, oh my God, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen. It had a side door, not a back door, obviously, because it had the slide coming out the back, but
Oh really?
it was just enormous. Absolutely enormous. Yeah. And it was a truck camper.
Wow. Oh my God. At that point, why don't you just
Yeah.
get a Class C?
Well, that's kind of what I'm wondering. You know, well, I think it's for somebody that's like already got that vehicle and then they just want to be able to, you know, to I guess put the struts down and park it or something. I don't know, but I can't imagine they're less than 30 grand or more. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But it was enormous. So
Oh.
yeah, I don't know what kind it was. I can't remember, but it was huge.
Oh my God. Once I'm just looking it up now.
So.
It's like, my God. At that point, though, it's like, where would you be able to bring it? Because like it weighs so much, and I imagine that when it weighs that much, it has to like shift the truck around when you're going off road.
Well, that's why these guys were probably in a Thousand Trails campground in Ocean Shores, Washington, right? They weren't anywhere special. They just literally drove that there, backed it into a spot, and were even plugged into shore power and sewer and water,
Ooh.
just like a regular camper.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God. I'm looking at one. I'm not sure if it's the one you saw, but let's see. I'm looking at the Mammoth Triple Slide Truck Camper, and it comes complete with a fireplace and what was it? And a washer dryer combo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the hell? Just get an RV.
Oh my God. Oh, it's interesting. I don't know if
Yeah.
you must listen to some RV podcasts still, but the ones I'm listening to,
I listen to one.
are mentioning that prices are finally starting to come down. It's like, thank God. Hopefully they also start building them better, because I heard that from more than one person that the 2021 and 2022 RVs have been some of the worst built RVs in like RV history.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. They had a hard time keeping people employed, and the ones they did bring in didn't know how to do it. So, yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, they always talk about. I've heard a lot of chatter about that the last couple of years building history, but that's not a very high bar that they're trying to overcome. Like we ripped out our dinette. I've looked behind our fireplace, trying to fix something, and anytime you pull open a panel, you just see the build quality, and it's actual garbage, right? It's not just about the materials. We have one that's got pretty decent materials inside, but you look in there and it's dirty. Like, you can see sawdust and stuff. You can see extra staples and nails that they just left there. It's just actual shoddy workmanship, and we've got one of the more well-known brands in the industry, one of the oldest brands. Ours is a Holiday Rambler, and by the time ours was built in 2015, well, sold in 2015, probably built in 2014. It was owned by Monaco, I think, at the time, and again, big names in the industry, right? And still, just like, it looks good and polished when they roll it off the floor, but don't look behind the panel. Seriously, don't look behind the panel.
Oh my God,
it's
that
crazy.
reminds me of an article that I read years ago about from a Ferrari mechanic. And he was talking about how when you pulled like the door panels and various stuff off, the interior, that they were always shocked at the stuff they'd find like behind the door panels, like crown caps and people's lunches, and how they draw like obscene things, or like write obscene things hoping the owner would die. Because they were like built by people who like absolutely hated the sort of person who could afford to buy a Ferrari.
Right. I mean, kind of along the same lines, I always heard about Harley Davidson motorcycles. When you buy one, the first thing you do is you take a wrench and you tighten down every single bolt, because it's just going to shake itself apart.
Oh my God, I've heard oh my God, I saw something like that on TikTok today, where someone brought their bicycle in, their brand new Specialized. Well, technically it wasn't brand new. They've been riding it for a month, and they're like, oh my God, I hope you weren't riding this. And the person was like, no, I wasn't riding it. And then on her TikTok, she's like, I was totally riding this for a whole month and everything was loose.
Jeez. Yeah. People don't know how lucky they get sometimes.
Also, obviously, not to get into bike talk, although both Chris and I really enjoy bicycles. My God, have you seen that that Shimano just released their wireless electronic shifter for like their mid-price group sets, which means that, you know, the next time, the
Really?
next time you go and buy like your next Trek or Specialized, it'll probably have wireless shifting.
Man,
Yeah.
I mean, wireless shifting. Okay, I'll take wireless shifting, but you know that's a slippery slope to wireless braking, which I don't think I'm ready for.
Well, I mean, it works for cars.
Yeah, but Jesus, just you want to know that the brakes are going to work when you pull on the thing. You know what I mean?
You know, I mean, as someone
Yeah.
who's
Anyway.
ridden a 57 Schwinn and once had the chain come off, and it's a coaster brake bike, and was like trying to stop it just by putting my feet down. You know, I'm not too scared. Well, relatively.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Wow, somebody just set off like an M100 or something like that down the street, or a half stick of dynamite. I'm not really sure.
it's like just like here. I'm not sure if anyone will be
Yeah.
able to hear it, but there's like a you know, there's a classic car show down the street at, oh God, I always forget the park that's like right on the river there. But you know, it's there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hot August Nights is
Sort of.
happening.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just some.
Oh no, it's not August. It's July. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. And
All right.
before we wrap up, my God, I don't know what it is, but somehow looking at vintage bikes has like inspired Instagram to start showing me all the brand new electric bikes. And some of them are super cool. Not cheap, but like, you know, but it's
Yeah.
also interesting that people are like, there's still the people who are convinced that you can buy a electric bicycle for $500, and I'm like, dude, like, you know, like a rad power bike is like, you know, one of the more affordable options, and those start like what, 1,300 for like their red mission.
$12.99, I think. Yeah, for the low end one, and that, but they don't even go any more than like $16.99. I think is their most expensive one, and it has been for a while.
But it's also interesting to see this super cool innovation. Like today, I don't know what it is, but there's like a new bike called the Carbo, and it's a folding all carbon fiber bicycle. You know, and it's like, you know, it's like I want to say it's $2,600, and some of the comments that I read on like the Instagram post are like, oh my God, this is so expensive, who can afford this? I can buy a used car for that much. And it's like, man, have you shopped for a used car lately?
Yeah, right.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah, exactly.
You'll appreciate
exactly.
This. When I was the other day, I was riding right around Mammoth, and I spotted a 2011 4Runner with $175,000 or 175,000 miles on it. Guess how much they were selling it for? They're selling it for $20,000. Yeah.
Wow. That is a lot for a 4Runner.
I mean, how much did you pay for your brand? How much was your brand new 4Runner? Like, what was the sticker on that when you were leasing it?
Oh man, sticker was because we did lease it, but it was at least it was in the upper 40s, low 50s. I know that, but that was like a 2000.
Yeah. And the thing is, the one.
I can't even remember.
You know, before they got really weird looking.
Yes, it was. It was before they got all bulbous. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember, but man, it was definitely not worth that when we got rid of it.
And yet you could have gotten rid of it for $20,000 right now.
Well, it's a crazy thing, and I'd like to see what they're going for now. But when I sold my Tacoma, I mean, it was 5 years old, 6 years old, something like that, 5 years old, I think, and had 115,000 miles on it, and I sold it for 20, but I had an offer for 22.
You could have sold it for like 30.
So probably, yeah, probably.
Oh, speaking of that, my God, you know, we probably shouldn't be talking about this in the air, but are you glad you got out of the you glad you got rid of your place before housing prices started going down?
I mean, it was a gamble. We thought about waiting until the fall because some advice we heard said that, you know, there's a lot more buyers then, but I'm glad we got rid of it. I'm really glad. That money's sitting in the bank right now. It's doing all right for us. It's in an interest-bearing account. Not a huge, it's not a risky account, so it's not gaining that much, but it is nice to have that just kind of sitting there because, you know, worst case scenario, we've got a couple of years worth of finances in the bank if we need it, you know, which is handy, but obviously we're going to do something with that at some point. But yeah, I'm glad we got out when we did. And not only that, but just having a place that's 46 years old, and, you know, it was updated, and we did some updates to it as well, but just having a place that's 46 years old and having people in it, like nearly every day it's just, I'm thinking, when is the call going to come that something horrible happened? You know, either somebody got hurt, worst case scenario, because of something that failed in there, or something just failed and it's going to cost us $20,000 to fix it. You know, I'm just like, when is that day going to happen? And I don't know. It's nerve wracking, but anyway, yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh well.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Was there interesting? Was that anything you brought up in the CRM Arc podcast about how to spend your money, like where to invest it?
No, we didn't get that far. Just that you need to be thinking about that from a finance standpoint. So, but I'll tell you what. One place that that we're doing to help save money is, and we're not doing it to help save money, but it's just a funny byproduct. If we do this next week, if we're able to do this on Sunday next week, we'll be in Canada, and Canada's exchange rate right now basically makes everything about 25% off for us.
Oh, and free healthcare.
Yeah. And free healthcare. That's right. So hoping to get hurt and buy some good things up in Canada.
Interesting. So we're
yeah.
You know, obviously we don't have that much time, but where's your first stop? And are you gonna be filming it?
Our first stop is we're gonna try to get some video, but our first stop is a Thousand Trails campground in the southern end of BC. Really just kind of, it's only about 3 hours from where we're at right now, but it's just across the border. Yeah, it's a little bit of a drive from Vancouver, but if you take the highway straight up, Vancouver's kind of on the left and this is to the right if you're going north. And we're going to be there for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to head up into the mountains, basically into the Canadian Rockies, and we'll be up in there for a week, and then we're going to be over in Calgary, just outside Banff for a week, and then we're going to come back down through Montana, Wyoming, and off to Reno.
God, yeah.
So
air races are coming out.
Yeah. They are, and we're going to be in Reno for the whole month of September. We'll actually get there on, I think, August 28th or something, and we're going to stay for the whole month.
Oh my God. Before I forget, I was riding around Reno yesterday, and guess what I saw? I saw like an old 70s or 80s Jeep CJ painted in Nevada Civil Air Patrol colors. Yeah, it was super cool. I was like, wow, I wonder if that's officially affiliated with Civil Air Patrol, but I bet it's just something that was retired or someone bought or maybe someone painted.
Well, actually, there was out in Truckee, I think, the first squadron in Nevada, which is actually not even in Nevada. It was technically in Truckee. Yeah, but the first squadron was called the Jeep Squadron, and they didn't have any planes, and they just did radio relay stuff. And they're still, when they decommissioned that squadron for various reasons a long time ago, the group of people that were still in it, they're still like ham and radio operator kind of people, and they still have all the stuff, and they still do events where they need like radio support and things like that, and they still call themselves the Jeep Squadron. The Washoe Jeep Squadron is called. So yeah, that was probably a legit like one of those people. So yeah.
Anyway, wow, that was good, interesting history. See, we deliver content every once in a while.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Every once in a while. Yeah. So all right. Well, I think that's about it for this week. If we can do it next week, I'll be in Canada. Yeah. Are you going to be home or are you going to be in Mammoth?
It's a long story, but oh my God, it's like a lot of driving. I'm going to be heading back up to Oroville, which is only like a couple hours from here, you know, and then back to Mammoth. So it's going to be a lot of driving next week. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Richie. And thanks everybody that joined us live. And again, if you haven't liked Richie's YouTube channel where you're watching this, or the APN Facebook page where you're watching this, whichever you're watching it, if you found it because we shared it, go and like the page and hit the subscribe button so you can get notification when we go live.
All right. And